So our topic today, Reserve Bank of India, Center and RBI conflict. Now we discuss, full Center RBI conflict. GS paper 3 under economy. So context, RBI board meeting to be held on 19th November 2018. RBI, Reserve Bank of India. RBI is India's central bank, also known as central bank, also known as Bankers Bank. The RBI controls monetary and other banking policies of the government of India, of the Indian government. The origin of the RBI. 1926, Royal Commission on Indian Currency and Finance recommended creation of a central bank for India. After 1935, RBI was established in accordance with the RBI Act 1934. After 1949, first is 1926, then 1935, 1949, the Government of India nationalized RBI under the Reserve Bank, Transfer of Public Ownership Act. So under Reserve Bank, Reserve Bank Transfer of Public Citizenship Act, Ownership Act, Public Citizenship, not Public Ownership Act. So, sorry, RBI Act 1934. Few important section: establishment and incorporation of Reserve Bank. Section 7, management. The central government may from time to time give such directions to the Reserve Bank as it may, after consultation with the governor of the bank, consider necessary to in the public as interest. 7.1 and 7.2, subject to any direction the general superintendence and direction of the affairs and business of the bank shall entrusted to a central bank of directors, which may exercise all powers and do all acts and things which may be exercised or done by the bank. And section 7.3, except provided in regulation made by the central bank, the governor and his absence, the deputy governor nominated by him in this behalf. Okay, and in this behalf shall also be have powers or of general superintendents and direction of the affairs of the business of the bank, and may exercise all powers and do all acts and things which may be exercised or done by the bank. Section 8, composition of the central bank and term of office of directors. The central board shall consist of the following directors, namely a governor and not more than 4 deputy governors to be appointed by the central government, 4 directors to be nominated by the central government, one from each of the 4 local boards, 10 directors to be nominated by the central government, 1 government officials to be nominated by the central government. And section 17, business which the bank may transact. Section 21, bank to conduct banking affairs of the government and manage public debt. And section 22, it is exclusive rights to issue currency notes in India. And section 58, powers of the central board to make regulation. Function of RBI. The preamble to the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934, under which it was constituted, specifies its objectives, such as to regulate the issue of banknotes, to secure monetary stability in India, to modernize the monetary policy framework, to meet economic challenges, to regulate the issue of banknotes, to secure monetary stability in India, to modernize the monetary policy framework to meet economic challenges. Okay, and the major function of the RBI are as follows. Monetary policy. The core function of RBI is formulation and implementation of monetary policy with the objectives of maintaining price stability, ensuring adequate flow of credit to productive sectors of the economy. So it is mainly formulation and implementation of the monetary policy with the objectives of maintaining price stability and ensuring adequate flow of credit to productive sector of the economy. And issuer of currency. RBI is responsible for the design, production, and overall management of the India's currency. Regulation and supervision. RBI is regulatory and supervision domain extends not only to the India's banking system but also to the development financial institutions. Non-banking financial company (NBFC), non-banking financial company primary dealers, credit information companies, and select segments of the financial markets. The RBI designs. So you have RBI's regulatory and supervisory domain extend not only to the Indian banking system but also development financial institution (DFI). Non-banking financial companies, primary dealers, credit information companies, and select segment of the financial market. The RBI design and implements the regulatory policy framework with the aim of providing people access to the banking system, protecting depositors' interest, and maintaining the overall health of the financial system. Banker to banks. As banker to banks, the RBI focus on enabling smooth, swift, and seamless clearing and settlement of interbank obligations, providing an efficient means of funds transfer for banks, enabling banks to maintain their accounts with the Reserve Bank for statutory reserve requirements and maintenance of transaction balance. So enabling banks to maintain their accounts with the Reserve Bank for statutory reserve requirements and maintenance of transaction balance, acting as a lender of last resort. Banker to the government. It performs various banking functions such as accept deposits, taxes, makes provisions on behalf of the government. It works as a representative of the government even at the international level. Foreign exchange reserve management. Okay, so FERM. It is the RBI focus on maintaining markets confidence in monetary and exchange rate policies, enhancing the Reserve Bank intervention capacity to stabilize foreign exchange markets, and limiting external vulnerability by maintaining foreign currency liquidity to absorb stocks during time of crisis, including national disasters or emergencies. Enhancing RBI's intervention capacity or to stabilize foreign exchange markets. Income and expenditure of RBI. Income. So returns earned on foreign currency assets, which could be in the form of bonds and treasury bills. So bills of other central banks or top rated securities and deposits with other central banks. It also earns interest on its holdings of local rupee denominated government bonds. It also earns interest on its holding of local rupee denominated government bonds or securities, and while lending to banks for very short tenors. So it also earns interest on its holdings of local rupee denominated government bonds and security, and while lending to banks for very short tenors. It claims a management commission on handling and borrowings of state governments and the central government. So expenditure mainly, so sorry, printing of currency notes, expenditure related to staffs, commission to banks for undertaking transactions on behalf of the government, exchange remittance across the country. And next, center RBI relation. In India, the government deals with fiscal policy while the central bank is responsible for monetary policy. The government deals with fiscal policy while the central bank is deal with monetary policy, and fiscal policy deals with taxation and expenditure decisions of the government. So fiscal policy deals with taxation and expenditure decisions of the government, and monetary policy deals with the supply of money in the economy and rate of interest. Both the government and the central bank in their functioning are guided by public interest. So both the government and the central bank in their functioning are guided by public interest and the requirements of the Indian economy and seek to maintain financial stability of the country. Note: RBI is not statutory independent as the governor is appointed by the government. Governor is appointed by the government. However, sorry, however, it has enjoyed broad autonomy in regulating the banking sector. RBI is not a statutory body, statutorily independent, and the governor is appointed by the government. However, it has enjoyed broad autonomy in regulating the banking sector. Okay, and center and RBI conflict now present issue. Recent areas confrontation. Recently, the RBI and center have been at conflict over a number of issues. Fund flow to NBFC. The government wants the RBI to help ease the liquidity squeeze, and that has been gripping non-banking finance companies, NBFC, whose operations have been hit by the IL and FS crisis. So fund flow. So here in fund flow of to NBFC, the government wants RBI to help ease the liquidity squeeze, and that has been gripping non-banking finance companies, NBFC, whose operations have been hit by the IL and FS crisis. However, the RBI is of the opinion that the cash crunch has already eased. Next, prompt corrective action. The government wants RBI to relax the prompt corrective action regime for NPA-laden banks. The RBI had tightened the PCA, restricts lending and expansion of weak NPA-laden banks. The government wants rules to be aligned with the global norms so that the credit flow is not hit. The government wants rules to be aligned with global norms so that the credit flow is not hit. So the government wants RBI to relax the prompt corrective action to regime. So prompt corrective action regime for NPL-laden banks. The RBI had tightened the prompt corrective action that restricts lending and expansion of weak NPL-laden bank. The conflict between RBI and center widened when RBI issued a circular in February 2018 which directed banks to acknowledge every loan delayed beyond the 90th day as soon as a non-performing assets and provision for it. The alone raised India's NPA by recently nearly 25% of over 10 lakh crore. So the conflict between RBI and the center widened when RBI issued a circular in February 2018, which directed banks to acknowledge if every loan delayed beyond 19th day as a non-performing assets and provision for it. This alone raised India's NPA by nearly 25% to over 10 lakh crore. So loan delayed mainly 90 days and as a non-performing asset and alone raised NPA by 25% over last over 10 lakh crore. Funds to MSME. The government has been seeking more loans, easier norms for small business. However, RBI has been reluctant in doing so. So the important it is, so the funds to MSME, the government has been seeking more loans, easier norms for small business. However, the RBI has been reluctant in doing so. And others here like payment 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 regulator and interministerial committee set up by the government recommended that India's payments ecosystem should be regulated by new institution, a payment regulatory board rather than RBI. RBI considered it as an attack on its power, an attempt to carve its power. Payment Regulation and Inter-Ministerial Committee set up by the government recommended that India's payment ecosystem should be regulated by new institution, a payment regulatory board rather than the RBI. RBI considered it as an attack on its power and an attempt to carve its power. Adequacy of RBI reserves. So the government alleges that the RBI keep more reserves than any other central bank and wants discussions to be held on the matter. However, RBI concerned over its corpus fund to be used for pre-poll spending of the government. So here the adequacy of the reserves, the government alleges that the RBI keeps more reserves than any other central bank and wants discussion to be held on the matter. However, RBI is concerned over its RBI is concerned over its corpus fund to be used for pre-poll spending of the government. Role of board. The government wants the decision making to be done by the boards as RBI top official have been largely. So the government wants the decision making to be done by the board as RBI top officials have been largely unresponsive to center's demand. However, RBI's management believes that monetary policy and financial sector regulation should be left to the experts. RBI believe that monetary policy and financial sector regulation should be left to the expert. Next is invoke of section 7 of the RBI Act 1934. The government invoked hitherto unused section 7 of the RBI Act to open consultation with the RBI on several issues of current importance. Experts are of the opinion that this would carve RBI autonomy. The government invoked hitherto used Section 7 of the RBI Act to open consultation with RBI on several issues of current importance. Experts are the opinion. Experts are of the opinion that this would carve RBI autonomy. Experts are of the opinion that this would carve RBI autonomy. Section 7, okay, important. Section 7 RBI Act 1934. How does Section 7 work? The government initiates a dialogue with the central bank with a specific mention of the act and list the issues that it would like to discuss. The government invoked a dialogue with the central bank with a specific mention of the act and list the issues that it would like to discuss. What happened after that? The law provides for the government to give instruction of the central bank based on the dialogue between the two concerns. Since center is the spender and the RBI is creator of money, and there should be a natural separation between the two. And if the autonomy of the RBI is jeopardized, it may have the adverse effect on independent it may have an adverse effect on the independent monetary policy and overall financial stability of the economy. The central bank's ability to act The central bank's ability to act without interference is essential for the confidence of the Indian economy and international forum. The central bank ability to act without interference is essential for the confidence of the Indian economy at international forum. Recently, the Turkish President Erdogan allegedly tried to undermine the independence of Turkish central bank, which consequently led to fall the value of lira. Moving forward, the RBI should pursue greater transparency and implement robust communication policies to restore government's confidence. The government should appreciate RBI's expertise and its depth handling of earlier crises while refraining from interfering in the policy making. The RBI should pursue greater transparency and implement robust communication policies and to restore government confidence. The government should appreciate RBI's advertise and debt handling of earlier crisis, while refraining from interfering in the policy making. So thank you. Complete.